Hello there! Have you guys heard about the channel called Queer Stuff for Kids?
Queer Stuff for Kids?
Hey, welcome to Queer Kid Stuff.
Me and my teddy, we're friends for life. All of us together, it's such a delight. You and me and him and we and them and they. Let's all be ourselves today. Queer Kid Stuff.
Yes, that's right. There's a channel called Queer Stuff for Freaks. Queer Stuff for kids who want to learn. Now, just what is this web series called Queer Stuff for Kids? I guess a better question would be, what does it mean to children? Because we already know what it means to adults who watch it. Now, if we visit their Patreon, it says that Queer Stuff for Kids is an educational web series devoted to exploring LGBTQ topics in a kid-friendly manner. Yes, because nothing quite says kid-friendly than playing Mr. Potato with someone's genital. That's just screams kid-friendly, right? That's right, little Timmy or Tammy, depending on how you feel today. That little thing between your legs, it doesn't mean anything. It's not even real. So, I don't know, how about we just
Cut it off.
Okay, so before we start doubting completely this brave person, how about we go watch some of her stuff and then we can decide how we feel about it. We can continue from there. So let's take something simple. How does she or he or whatever, how does it explain homosexuality?
Teddy, you had a really good question for me yesterday. What was it again?
Lindsay, yesterday I heard someone say the word gay. What does gay mean?
Sometimes when you hear the word gay, it might mean happy. Like if I went to recess yesterday and I had a really great time, it made me feel gay or happy. But most of the time when you hear the word gay, it probably means something else, and that has to do with love. So, gay means when one person of one gender loves someone of the same gender. Like, if a boy loves a boy, they're a gay couple, and if a girl loves a girl, they're a gay couple too. And even if a teddy loves a teddy, they're gonna be a gay couple.
Alright, Lindsay. It's always love. What a perfect little world you live in. You think gay people are always in love and that's how we can define it? I Google some gay activities, I know, pretty weird. And I want you to tell me if you think this sounds like love. So number one is the double kangaroo sloppy pokey. The double kangaroo sloppy pokey. Next one, the backroom mailman and the angry dog. The clogged blowhole, 30-minute insertion, otherwise known as too much information or TMI, I don't know why. The next one is called I hate mayo. The next one is called decapitating the snapping turtle. The second of last one is called the Chinese finger puzzle. That sounds like love to me.
I wish I knew how to quit you. Then why don't you?
I saved the last one for because it's the best. The Turbo Ass Blaster 2000. The Turbo Ass Blaster 2000. Now, you might already think to yourself, just who the hell is going to teach my kids about science like biology? Well, first of all, it's 2017, so calm down, you sexist douchebag. And second of all, don't even worry about it. Because I trust in our social justice hero, Lindsay. I trust her completely. Hooray, Lindsay. That's right, people. Lindsay has our back. Equipped with a undergraduate degree equipped with an undergraduate degree in theater from Northwestern University and a minor in gender study. This person is going to help. I mean, what the f can she even do? I mean, what the f are we talking about this? For f***'s sake, I can't f***ing believe this retard is f***ing taking lessons to our kids, and oh my f***ing god, I mean, it's the same f***ing shit, always the same shit, motherfucking always same shit. I can't deal with this f***ing shit. Look at this f***ing retard. Look, I know I seem triggered to you. I know I seem like I'm acting like I'm totally triggered. But here's the deal. The deal is we are dealing with a person with a identity crisis who is teaching our kids about sex. What the fuck are these for? So if you guys think that queer stuff for kids is just for pedos who visit YouTube, well, the answer is you're wrong. It's not just for pedos. It's for kids and it has a lot of great content. It doesn't just talk about sexual education for kids. It also talks about politics.
On Friday, January 20th, 2017, Donald Trump was officially inaugurated as President of the United States. That was a pretty difficult day for a lot of people. If you haven't watched our video on the 2016 election yet, you can check that out by clicking on the card that just popped up right there.
Yeah, what kid doesn't love politics and sexual education? I mean, let's be honest here. When Donald Trump won, kids were devastated. For them it was like Toy Story 3, but a times 100.
One day we took a drive, hit a rest stop, had a little playtime. After lunch, Daisy fell asleep. She never came back.
I want to talk about something else that happened over the weekend that was actually really cool. That was the Women's March. The Women's March was a peaceful protest, which is a form of activism. We learned a little bit about activism when I read A is for Activist by Inosanto Nogueira for you. We will probably talk a little bit more about activism in the future.
Oh yes, activism. Another great childhood pastime. Activism. Yeah, I remember when I was a kid and I was a total activist. I mean, not to be confused with my hissy fits I used to throw as a child, because I am a child and you can't even tell if I'm being an activist, rebellious against some injustice, or just being a child and just being rebellious because I'm a child.
Listen, no more. No more.
I mean, you understand you're talking to kids, right? Kids don't need chaos, they need structure. They don't need activism, they need to be taught by their adults, not some weirdo like you on YouTube.
But to put it simply, activism is about expressing how you want something to change. This channel is actually a form of activism because I wanted to change how kids like you learn about LGBTQ+ topics.
Oh please, you're not a freedom fighter. You're like everyone else. you have your own worldviews, except that unlike everyone else, unlike normal people, you rather target children with your views. Yes, because you want your opinions heard but not challenged. And that's probably why you have also disabled your comment section. Such a brave social justice warrior, aren't you?
Today, I'm talking to you because you might have noticed that I disabled the comment sections on all of our videos because we are getting a lot of really intense negative backlash for the content that I'm making.
Ah, yes, that moment when your little perfect bubble-like fantasy world, your little safe space comes crashing down by Mr. Reality. Mr. Reality comes knocking in the form of a mob of concerned citizens and adults. Poor you.
What's the matter with you people? You're sad that people are mean? Well, I'm sorry, the world isn't one big liberal arts college campus. We eat too much, we take our spoiled lives for granted, feel a little bad about it sometimes. No, you want to put all your shit up on the internet and have every single person say, hooray for you, fuck you.
And it was not an easy decision to come to. I had actually been holding off on it for a while because I think that it's really important to have discussions and engage with these topics that I'm talking about.
Really? Because to me it seems more like you were totally fine with discussion and debate until the contradictions came, and then you just decided to shut down the whole conversation.
I think that it's really important to have discussions and engage with these topics that I'm talking about. You might have noticed that I disabled the comment sections on all of our videos because we are getting a lot of really intense negative backlash for the content that I'm making.
So in other words, selective freedom of speech, aka safe speech.
But it was just becoming too much, and it was sacrificing the ability to keep the channel a safe space for young people and for LGBTQ plus people who might be coming to the channel, and I felt that it was more important to keep that space intact than it was to have the abuse come in. So I decided to turn off the comment sections.
Oh please, as if we need that many words to describe exactly what you did. What you did was you sacrificed freedom of speech for the sake of your little safe space. Nothing else, nothing more, and nothing less.
It is not about creating an intellectual space! It is not! Do you understand that? It's about creating a home here!
This month's special issue of National Geographic magazine is called The Gender Revolution, the Shifting Landscape of Gender. I picked it up at the airport while I was flying over the holidays, and I was completely floored by the stories and images in the issue, and I had to talk to you about it because it directly aligns with what we're trying to do here at Queer Kid Stuff, validating queer young people.
Validating queer young people. What a great way to rationalize pushing ideas on still young and developing minds.
Validating queer young people.
Or perhaps I'm just being dramatic here. Lindsay, just how young are we talking about here? How young?
There's one article which actually says, and I quote, by age 4, most children have a stable sense of their gender identity. That is a huge part of why this channel is aimed at ages 3 to 7.
Yeah, that's not sick at all. Also, just look at the production value on her set. How much money was spent on production value alone? I mean, seriously, I could do her whole act with about 5 euros. In fact, to prove a point, that's exactly what I did. So, this is all you need to know about sex, okay? You take these two things and basically you just This looks brutal, but it's really about love. And that's all you need to know about sex. €5. That's all it took, you big spender.
The centerpiece of the issue is an article and photo shoot talking to 9-year-olds all over the world about their gender identity. My favorite photo is of Avery Jackson from Kansas City, Missouri, who says, "The best thing about being a girl is now I don't have to pretend to be a boy."
Do you remember the old days when there wasn't a creepy guy or girl on YouTube teaching your kids about sex? You remember that time? It was a golden age. Back in those days, we used to just sit down with our parents and they would teach us about life, how things work and all that. And you know what? Even that was a little creepy and a little uncomfortable.
I bought some magazines. Do you want to just flip to the center section? Well, this is the female form, and they have focused on the breasts, which are used primarily to feed young infants, and also in foreplay. Right.
But these days, unfortunately, kids are gonna have to just deal with these types of people. But kids, let's be honest here. Is this what you want to be? Is this someone you want to be? Someone who jumps from joy after a child says this?
My favorite photo is of Avery Jackson from Kansas City, Missouri, who says, "The best thing about being a girl is now I don't have to pretend to be a boy."
This kid is still a boy, and only now is he pretending to be something he's not. Let me just make something clear here. I'm not a bigot. I'm just saying that just because you want to be something really badly, really badly, that doesn't make it so. That doesn't change biology. Your cries in desperation, how sad and loud they may be, they don't have the power to change reality. Now, this next clip really made me angry.
We've already talked about the queerness in Steven Universe, and in Julie's Green Room, one of the young puppet characters is gender nonconforming, which is so cool. Otherwise, there are a few one-offs like the moms on Good Luck Charlie on the Disney Channel, and now LeFou in the live-action Beauty and the Beast, but these aren't enough. And to be perfectly honest, a lot of it is queer baiting. That's when a show teases that characters might be LGBTQ+ and drop small hints about their sexuality, but never actually acknowledge or follow through on confirming their LGBTQ+-ness. They usually do it to bring in a more queer or liberal audience that might not have watched that TV show or movie otherwise. And when kids are watching these stories, those small queer moments usually fly by them without a second glance.
Yes, exactly, you freak. I mean, kids don't look for the things you're looking for when they're watching movies. You know why? Because they're kids. They don't look for sexual meanings. They're much too busy looking at the movie and thinking, oh, look how cool it is. And this bothers you? This makes you angry? Seriously, get some fucking help.
It's like my heart is on fire. Like it's, I don't know, like,
Burning?
Exactly.
Sounds almost like heartburn.
So, can you give me something?
Like a thesaurus?
What?
Also, just how many animated tranny will it take? Just how many animated transsexual characters will it take? How many LGBTQT characters will it take? Because I don't know if you haven't noticed, but you're less than 5% of the population. So I don't know if you're underrepresented, but I do know not every other character needs to be a fucking transsexual or something like that. And there's nothing wrong with being a transsexual, but let's be honest, let's have some realism here.
It's hard to really call this LGBTQ plus representation for kids when they might not even notice it. If you think about all the press Beauty and the Beast got for its gay moment with LeFou, you need to remember that kids aren't reading those news stories or press releases in order to get the context that LeFou is intended to be queer. The moment in the movie is so fleeting that most kids probably didn't notice unless a grown-up pointed it out to them.
Oh no! How did we ever make astronauts and presidents before they ever saw transsexual characters in cartoons as a child? How did we ever make astronauts before?
God, please tell me how.
Kids aren't reading those news stories or press releases in order to get the context that LeFou is intended to be queer. The moment in the movie is so fleeting that most kids probably didn't notice unless a grown-up pointed it out to them.
This has to be said because her obsession with gay kids continues. Why does it matter to you so much? I mean, seriously, now that you have an actual LGBTQ character in the movie, despite the original writing, why does it matter to you so much still? Oh, I get it. Is it because the kids don't care? They're not paying attention? Is that it? Poor you.
And even if they did notice, it wasn't a central plot point in the movie, and LeFou is a villain character.
It wasn't a central plot in the movie. Well, no shit, Sherlock. I guess the studios understood the exact same thing I understood, which is that parents are probably not gonna go take their kids to watch a 2-hour-long movie about some random transsexual animated character on her way to transforming herself like some fucking child, like some childhood trauma inducing horror movie. They're not gonna take that.
I can't tell you how excited we are that you chose our institution. You certainly have your hands full with this group. These patients suffer from a variety of mental health issues, probably the most severe I've ever seen.
Also, why does it matter if a transsexual is a villain character or not?
LeFou is a villain character.
It's just that type of thinking that makes it totally okay for Bruce Jenner to just run over someone with her car.
Buckle up, buckaroo!
Listen guys, I seriously think that for people like this, the next step will be telling us all about how kids can love adults as well. And no, I'm not saying this because of the LGBTQ factor. I just do the math. LGBTQ, gay, lesbian, all of that is adult topics. Adult topics that this person chooses to talk about to kids. Not just kids, to kids specifically and kids only.
This channel is aimed at ages 3 to 7.
Now for me, this is one of the most telling parts. She's willing to say that kids are able to know their sexual preferences at the age from 5 to 9. They are already able to know if they're gay, lesbian or not.
There's one article which actually says, and I quote, by age 4, most children have a stable sense of their gender identity.
So by extension, this person is already telling us that kids are able to feel sexual pleasure and sexual attraction. Why? Well, simply because she said kids are able to feel, kids are able to know if they have sexual preferences towards men or women. So how do you know if you're gay or not? By feeling sexual attraction, by feeling sexual pleasure when being with someone. That's how you know you're gay or not. That's how you know your sexual preference. So you see, people like this are basically one step away from telling that kids can be with adults. She's already saying that kids can have sexual preferences, therefore kids can feel sexual pleasure, therefore kids can feel sexual attraction, therefore kids are mature enough to know about these things. So basically the twisted mat is already there, and it just takes one social justice warrior freak that wants to be the hashtag #1 most progressive lunatic in his hipster social justice warrior clique / cult. So it takes just a little motivation. Just a little motivation for one of these people to do the twisted mat. Do the twisted mat and come to the same conclusion I came to. And you know what? That's when I say that, I'm putting aside the channel we're already viewing, which in my mind borderlines on pedophilia. But also it's putting aside the Salon documentary about defending pedophiles. I don't know if you haven't seen it, but here's a clip of it.
And she was just standing there watching me, and I remember looking up and just seeing her and just going, wow, she's beautiful. I knew I was in deep. I had fallen for the girl. The last thing I wanted to do was hurt her. I took on a regular babysitting gig. She was 5. She was a precocious girl. She was advanced for her age. She was also very independent.
Yeah, sure, buddy. That's what every pedo says. Okay? That's what every fucking pedo says. You guys work on a pattern and you don't even realize it. You do it subconsciously. Every pedo says the same thing. Oh, my victim was a willing party in my activities. Yeah, sure, buddy. It's what every fucking pedo says in every documentary I ever watched about you evil sons of bitches. And that's why I kind of made this connection.
She was 5. She was a precocious girl. She was advanced for her age. She was also very independent.
By age 4, most children have a stable sense of their gender identity. That is a huge part of why this channel is aimed at ages 3 to 7.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, that's not the same. And I would agree, that's not the same. In fact, saying that what these two people said was the same thing would be slanderous towards Lindsay. That's not my point though. My point is exactly this. There's a team with both parties, with both individuals. Both creepy individuals seem to think that kids are sexually mature. Both seem to think that, both seem to project their own personal ideologies onto kids. Both individuals don't seem to understand the concept of children. That's my main point when it comes to these two people and when I want to compare. But that's not all. I wanted to log off yesterday when I was compiling all these videos, and I swear just before I left I found this video, this last one, that in my opinion kind of proves my point.
Hey, Lindsay here. Today I want to talk about if all kids are queer. So we know that kids are strange and kind of weird, but I think that all kids are actually just real queer.
Well, of course you do. You know why? It's the same thing with junkies. Junkies sees users everywhere. They see users everywhere because they want to make themselves feel better. It's called projecting. You're projecting your own behavior, your own faults onto society, and you think everyone is the same as you. Except with you, it's not about drugs, it's about 8-year-old kids. So, and about how queer they supposedly all are at the age of 5 already. And I don't know what comes next, but let's see. The point is, it's called projecting, Lindsay.
So basically, I've been reading about this theory in queer studies, called the theory of the queer child, which was basically coined by this lady, Catherine Bond Stockton, in this book, The Queer Child, or Growing Sideways in the 20th Century. I know it's a really weird book cover, but whatever. And she talks about this theory in terms of metaphors in movies and books and all that cool stuff. So that's this, and then there's also this book of essays called Curiouser on the Queerness of Children, edited by Stephen Brom and Natasha Hurley, and this is a collection of essays. One of them is by Catherine Bond Stockton, there's also one by Eve Sedgwick, and a bunch of other big names in queer theory.
So basically I have this book to prove my fucked up theory. I also have this book to prove my fucked up theory, and I also have these books to prove my fucked up theory. Here's one saying kids love sex. Oh my god, they all love sex. Here's one saying kids don't need any bathing suits at the beach. What's this one about? Oh yeah, this one is just naked kids. I can't show it because advertisement. There's a lot of good stuff about basically touching kids here, and it's all made by authors I consider as good, so therefore touch kids. Seriously, could this person be more obsessed with kids and their sexualities?
Ever been in a cockpit before?
No, sir, I've never been up in a plane before.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
Do you want me to check the weather, Clarence?
No, why don't you take care of it? Joey, you ever hang around the gymnasium?
We better get back now, Joey.
No, Joey can stay here for a while if you'd like.
I mean, short of taking us to a why it's okay to touch kids museum, this person could literally not have displayed her overcompensation any clearer by showing us all those books. Seriously. Yeah, there's nothing like a ride to the magical world of library books for fucking pedos.
Take a ride on my imagination flying machine!
Dude.
Hop aboard, kids! I have something to show you!
Are you gonna rape us?
No?
Innocence is this adult construct that's kind of put onto children, and it doesn't really match up with what kids are and do.
Yeah, there's no innocence. There's no innocent kids. I mean, they're all in the inside, they're all just dirty little bastards, right, Lindsay? Seriously, take your fucking medication.
And she talks about that as a kind of queerness and that kind of mismatching of the adult ideal of children, and how the idea of child itself is kind of this adult nostalgic construction.
And here we finally are. Kids are not kids. That's just a society construct made by the patriarchy to blah 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 blah. As the pedo said before.
She was 5. She was a precocious girl. She was advanced for her age. She was also very independent.
She uses Freud to talk about how children are all sexual, and how there's basically like the ghostly straight child, because people kind of assume that children are asexual and they're not really allowed to be sexual, but Freud kind of turns that on its head and basically says, no, all children are sexual, and yeah.
What did I say? I knew the first time I heard about this channel talking how kids can supposedly have sexual preferences at the age of 5 to 9. I knew how saying stuff like that would basically, it's basically the same as saying that kids are sexual equals to adults. And it's a disgusting thought and not at all accurate.
Yeah, so that's kind of the theory, the overall theory. I think it's really interesting and I kind of agree. I mean, I think if you've ever just kind of seen a kid do a weird thing, kids are totally weird. I mean, they eat their own boogers.
Well, why don't you visit a zoo today? Why don't you visit a zoo and watch the monkeys all day long? Watch how they throw shit at each other. Watch how they smell each other's asses. I mean, basically monkeys are weird too, right? So, should we apply your logic to monkeys as well?
So, yeah, I think that just kind of puts them outside of normative society and I think the fact that they don't have a voice within society is also really important to think about. I'd love to hear what you think about this topic.
Oh my god. Kids are the next marginalized group inside the LGBTQ community. Yeah, I'm bleeding from my ears, so no, I'll end it here.